nothing. But it takes testing. It takes testing. It is not favorable, but it's the very thing that produces the fruit. Even in Psalm chapter 1, where it says, be planted by the rivers of water. Be planted. Be planted. Like, to get planted is one thing. To stay planted is another thing. But if you stay planted, then you will bring forth much fruit in your season. So it takes a season, like it takes a process of time for you to be able to bring forth that much fruit. But if you don't stay planted long enough, you won't be able to bring forth that fruit. Because staying planted, what happens from season to season, you go from trial to trial, test to test, growing spiritually, maturing, developing. Like the fruit is like, it's the outcome. It's the outcome of the input. All of the things that we've been through, all of the things that we go through to bring this fruit to its maturity, to its ripeness. And sometimes when you see fruit, instantly you want to pluck it. But if it's not ripe, if it's not ready, you still got to let it stay. There's still a little more patience that's required. Because if you pluck it immaturely, it's not going to taste as sweet as it could. And so when you start to see some of the benefits, like, it's hard to not want to cash in. Like, people want to cash in instantly. Boom, I see fruit, pluck it. Let's go. That's what I've been waiting on. But yo, the fullness of that fruit, the much fruit, you only see a little fruit. Be patient. And it's easy to tell a person to be patient, but it's hard for a person to receive that word due to the level of testing. Like, we don't know what each person's test is like. And so when you say stay the course, stay in the fight, don't quit, don't give up, persevere, it's not time yet in your season, all of these things sound like curse words to a person that's experiencing trials and testings. But it's a blessing. There's a blessing on the other side of that. It's just so hard to see that. And when it's hard to see it, it's hard to believe it. But the Bible says that we walk by faith and not by sight. Let your faith be tested. Allow your faith to be tested long enough so that you can spiritually mature and bring forth much fruit. So you won't have just enough fruit, but much fruit. Fruit for you, fruit for your family, fruit for others. Others will come to your tree for that fruit if you allow it to grow. But it's going to take a testing. It's going to require a testing. It's going to require developing. So when people come to your tree, they don't get that pesticide fruit, that rushed fruit, that genetically modified fruit. You know? Because the Bible also warns us that we're not to cause our brothers and sisters to stumble. You don't cause other people to stumble. But if you produce that if you get that fruit immaturely before it's time, you're not going to have what it takes, that full spiritual development to be able to pour into somebody else, and you'll give them half truth. You'll give them half fruit. You'll give them fruit that actually is not going to benefit their lives to what it should be, and it could cause them to stumble. And so before you start allowing people to eat from your tree, you have to make sure that you are going through the pruning process, that you are going through the patient process, that you are staying in the fight long enough to be tested and mature. And so when you are tested, just know that it's bringing about maturity. And one thing I love about God, just one thing that I love about God, is He will allow us to go through testing and testing and testing, the same test in different ways over and over again until we mature in that area. That's what I love about God, because sometimes we as people, we only give you a certain amount of time to mature, a certain measure of grace, a certain measure of mercy, a certain measure of forgiveness. But God's grace, His mercy, His compassion, His forgiveness is abundant. Doesn't mean we should take it for granted, but it's abundant. And if we can learn to model, if we can eat from His tree, if we can eat from the tree of life, not the tree of knowledge of good and evil, but the tree of life, when we continue to eat from that tree, oh man, that's where your spiritual maturity grows and develops, and you're able to pour what God pours into you when you become that vessel, you know.